Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen and enjoy my stories every day. It's a quiet Tuesday night, and I'm lying on the couch with a half-empty beer bottle balanced on the armrest. The TV hums in the background, but I'm not watching. Instead, my fingers are idly scrolling through an endless stream of videos on my phone. The usual stuff: prank videos, cooking hacks, a few motivational clips that I swipe past without a second thought. I'm on autopilot, just killing time until I can convince myself to go to bed. That's when I see it. The thumbnail catches my eye: a couple standing in a sunlit park, surrounded by trees. A bright, cheerful balloon floats between them, and they're both smiling. The woman's face looks achingly familiar, but it can't be. My breath catches in my throat. I tap the screen, and the video starts playing. There she is, Sarah, my wife. My heart pounds in my chest, thudding in my ears as the camera zooms in on her face. She's glowing with happiness, her long brown hair catching the sunlight, her blue eyes sparkling in a way I haven't seen in years. And then there's the man beside her, tall and muscular, with a broad smile plastered across his face. His arm is casually draped over her shoulder, the kind of touch that's too familiar, too intimate. I watch, frozen, as they count down together. 3, 2, 1. Sarah and the man squeeze the balloon between them until it bursts with a loud pop. Pink confetti explodes into the air, fluttering around them like cherry blossom petals. My stomach churns as I watch them laugh and cheer, their joy palpable even through the screen. "We're having a girl," the man exclaims, pulling Sarah into a tight embrace. And then he kisses her. My vision blurs, and for a moment, I'm not sure if it's because of the tears welling up in my eyes or the sheer disbelief that grips me. The phone slips from my fingers, hitting the floor with a dull thud, but I barely notice. My mind is a storm of confusion, anger, and hurt, all swirling together into a sickening knot in my gut. This has to be a joke, a mistake. But as I sit there, the truth slowly, painfully dawns on me. Sarah is pregnant. And that man, whoever the hell he is, thinks he's the father. I can't breathe. My chest tightens as if a vice is clamping down on my ribs, squeezing the air out of my lungs. I stumble to my feet, pacing the length of the living room, trying to make sense of the impossible. How could this happen? How could she do this to me? The questions whirl in my head, but there are no answers, only the cold, hard reality of what I've just seen. Sarah is cheating on me. And not just cheating, she's building a life with someone else, planning a future that I'm not a part of. I'm shattered. The pain is sharp, cutting through me with every beat of my heart. I want to scream, to punch something, to destroy anything that would make this nightmare go away. But there's nothing I can do, nothing that will undo what I've just witnessed. The video plays on repeat in my mind, every detail etched into my memory like a scar. The way she smiled at him, the way she leaned into his kiss, the way they celebrated the news of their baby, his baby, not mine. I grab my phone, desperate to delete the video, to erase it from existence. But even as I swipe to get rid of it, the damage is done. I can't unsee it. I can't forget the betrayal. For a moment, I consider confronting Sarah, demanding answers, making her explain herself. But the thought of seeing her face, hearing her voice, makes me sick to my stomach. I can't face her. Not yet. Instead, I do the only thing I can think of. I leave. I grab my car keys, not even bothering to change out of my worn-out jeans and t-shirt. I just need to get out, to put as much distance between me and that video as possible. The night air is cool against my flushed skin as I step outside. The streets are quiet, the kind of stillness that only comes in the dead of night. I slide into the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turn white. My hands shake, but I turn the key in the ignition, the engine roaring to life. I drive without a destination, the city lights blurring into streaks of color as I speed through the empty streets. My mind races just as fast, cycling through anger, disbelief, and a hollow kind of sadness that sits heavy in my chest. How long has this been going on? Who is that guy? And why didn't I see the signs? It feels like I'm losing my grip on reality, like everything I thought I knew has been pulled out from under me. The woman I've spent years building a life with, the woman I thought I'd grow old with, has been living a lie. And now, that lie has shattered the fragile illusion of our marriage. At some point, I find myself parked by the river, the gentle lapping of water against the shore the only sound in the stillness. I lean back in my seat, closing my eyes, willing the images of Sarah and that man to fade from my mind. But they don't. They're seared into my memory, a constant reminder of the betrayal. I don't know how long I sit there, the weight of what I've discovered pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. Time seems to lose all meaning, the hours blending into each other until the first light of dawn begins to creep over the horizon. And then, something shifts inside me. The initial shock has worn off, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. Sarah betrayed me. She made her choice, and now it's time for me to make mine. I won't let her get away with this. I won't let her destroy everything we built together without consequences. I'm going to make her pay, make her regret every moment she spent with that other man. Revenge isn't something I ever thought I was capable of, but as I sit there, watching the sun rise over the water, it's the only thing that feels right. I need to reclaim some semblance of control, to take back the power she stole from me with that one devastating video. I make a decision then, a plan forming in the back of my mind. I'm going to ruin her. I'm going to make sure she feels the same pain, the same betrayal, that I'm feeling now. And I'm going to do it in a way she'll never see coming. I take a deep breath, the cool morning air filling my lungs. The path ahead is dark and twisted, but I don't care. There's no turning back now. By the time I finally drive home, the sun is high in the sky, casting harsh light on the familiar streets. Everything looks the same, but nothing feels right. My home, the life I shared with Sarah, all of it feels like a lie. And I'm done living a lie. As I walk through the front door, I know what I have to do. The first step is the hardest, but it's the only way forward. I'm going to confront her, end this charade, and start the process of tearing her life apart, just like she's torn mine apart. And when it's all over, I'll walk away, leaving the wreckage behind me. I'll never see her again. But until then, there's a long road ahead, and I'm ready to walk it, no matter where it leads. I barely sleep that night, tossing and turning as my mind races with everything I saw in that video. By the time the first light of dawn filters through the blinds, I'm wide awake, my decision from the night before still solid in my mind. I'm going to confront Sarah, but not in the explosive, reckless way my anger is urging me to. No, I need to be smart about this. Controlled. I want answers, and I want to see her squirm under the weight of her lies. When Sarah walks through the door that morning, she's carrying a grocery bag in each hand, the usual smile on her face. "Hey, honey," she calls out, her voice light and casual, like she hasn't just ripped my life apart. "I picked up your favorite coffee. They had that blend you like on sale." I watch her from the kitchen doorway, every muscle in my body tense. My mouth feels dry, and for a moment, I struggle to find the words. But then she glances up and sees me, and something in my expression must tip her off that something is wrong. Her smile falters, and she sets the bags down on the counter. "What's wrong?" she asks, her tone shifting from cheerful to concerned in an instant. She steps closer, reaching out like she's going to touch my arm, but I step back, out of her reach. "Where were you yesterday?" I ask, my voice surprisingly steady. It's a simple question, but it feels like a loaded gun, ready to go off the second she lies to me. She frowns, her eyes narrowing slightly as she studies me. "I told you, I had a lunch meeting with one of the clients. We went over some project details and then I ran a few errands." Her words are smooth, practiced, like she's rehearsed this story 100 times in her head. I nod slowly, biting down on the inside of my cheek to keep from exploding. That's funny, I say, my tone ice cold. Because I saw a video last night. A video of you, in a park, with some guy. And you were bursting a balloon, telling him you're having his baby. Her face goes pale, the color draining out of her cheeks so fast it's almost like watching a switch flip. For a moment, she just stands there, frozen, her eyes wide with shock. Then, she opens her mouth, but no sound comes out. She's scrambling, I can see it in her eyes, trying to think of a way to explain this, to lie her way out of it. Who is he, Sarah? I press, stepping closer, my voice rising with every word. Who the hell is that guy, and how long have you been lying to me? She takes a step back, her hands coming up as if to ward off the impact of my anger. It's not what you think, she stammers, her voice shaking. I can explain, please, just let me explain. Explain. I laugh bitterly, the sound harsh and ugly even to my own ears. What is there to explain? I saw the video, Sarah. I saw everything. You're pregnant with some other man's child, and you've been lying to me about it. Tears well up in her eyes, and for a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. But then I remember the betrayal, the way she kissed him, and the pity turns to rage. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispers, her voice barely audible. It just happened. And I was going to tell you, I swear, I just didn't know how. Didn't know how. I repeat, incredulous. You've had months to tell me, Sarah. Months. And instead, you've been sneaking around behind my back, living this double life. Do you have any idea how that makes me feel? She starts to cry, big, ugly sobs that shake her whole body. But I don't care. Not anymore. I'm sorry, she chokes out between sobs. I'm so sorry, I never wanted to hurt you. It just got out of control, and I didn't know how to fix it. I shake my head, my hands clenching into fists at my sides. It's too late for that. You can't fix this, Sarah. You've destroyed everything. For a moment, the only sound in the room is her crying, her sobs echoing off the walls like a haunting reminder of what's been lost. I can't stand to be near her, to look at her, to even breathe the same air. I turn away, my eyes landing on the grocery bags she brought in. The normalcy of it all is like a slap in the face, how she can go about her day like nothing is wrong, like our life isn't crumbling beneath us. As I'm about to leave the kitchen, the front door swings open, and a familiar voice calls out, "Hey, you two home?" It's Jake, my best friend since college. He's the last person I want to see right now, but it's too late, he's already stepping inside, a grin on his face that quickly fades as he takes in the scene before him. His eyes dart between Sarah's tear-streaked face and my clenched fists. "What's going on?" he asks, his voice cautious as he steps further into the room. "Nothing you need to worry about," I say quickly, trying to brush him off. But he's not buying it. Jake's always been the kind of guy who can read people like a book, and right now, he's reading the tension in the room like a flashing neon sign. "Come on, man," he says, his tone gentle but insistent. "Talk to me." I hesitate, but then something inside me breaks. I can't keep this to myself, can't bear the weight of it alone. "Sarah's been cheating on me," I say, the words tumbling out in a rush. "She's pregnant with another man's child." Jake's face hardens, his jaw tightening as he processes what I've just said. He looks at Sarah, who's still crying, and then back at me. "Is this true?" he asks her, his voice low and serious. She nods, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispers, barely able to get the word out. Jake swears under his breath, running a hand through his hair. Jesus, I don't even know what to say. "There's nothing to say," I reply, my voice flat. "It's over. We're done." Sarah gasps, her eyes widening in panic. No, please, don't say that. We can work this out, I know we can. We just need time. Time. I cut her off, my voice rising again. Time isn't going to fix this, Sarah. You've broken something that can't be repaired. Jake steps forward, placing a hand on my shoulder, trying to calm me down. Let's just take a breath here, okay? Maybe you both need some space to think things through. But I'm beyond reasoning. The anger, the betrayal, it's all too much, and I can't stand to be in the same room as her any longer. I shrug off Jake's hand and grab my car keys from the counter. I need to get out of here, I mutter, pushing past him and heading for the door. Wait, Sarah pleads, but I don't stop. I can't. I slam the door behind me, the sound echoing down the quiet street. My mind is a blur of emotions, anger, hurt, confusion, and all I can think about is getting away from her, from the house, from the life that now feels like a prison. I climb into my car and drive, the engine roaring as I speed through the neighborhood, not caring where I'm going, just needing to escape. The streets blur past me, but I barely notice. My hands grip the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ache, but I don't loosen my grip. I don't know how long I drive, but eventually, I find myself at Jake's place. I pull into his driveway and sit there for a moment, staring at the front door. Part of me doesn't want to go in, doesn't want to face the reality of what just happened. But I can't stay in the car forever. I get out and walk up to the door, my legs feeling heavy, like I'm moving through water. I knock once, and a moment later, Jake opens the door. He takes one look at me and steps aside, letting me in without a word. We sit in silence for a long time, the weight of the situation hanging between us. Finally, Jake speaks. You don't have to make any decisions right now, he says softly. Just take it one step at a time. I nod, but the truth is, I've already made my decision. I'm going to divorce Sarah. There's no coming back from this, no way to rebuild what she's destroyed. And once it's done, I'm going to make sure she pays for what she's done to me. But for now, all I can do is sit here, in the silence of Jake's living room, and try to process the wreckage of my life. The morning sun filters through the curtains in Jake's living room, casting long shadows across the floor. I wake up on the couch, my neck stiff from the awkward angle I've been lying in all night. My head feels heavy, like it's filled with lead, and for a moment, I don't remember where I am. But then it all comes flooding back, the video, the confrontation, Sarah's tears, and the decision I made. I rub my face, trying to shake off the remnants of sleep. Jake's place is quiet, the only sound the faint hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. I sit up slowly, every muscle in my body protesting the movement, and glance at my phone on the coffee table. No messages, no missed calls. Not that I was expecting any. Sarah knows better than to try to contact me right now. The door to Jake's bedroom creaks open, and he steps out, still in his pajama pants and a t-shirt, his hair a mess. He sees me sitting up and offers a small, tired smile. Morning, he says, his voice thick with sleep. You sleep okay? Yeah, I lie, even though I barely slept at all. Thanks for letting me crash here. Anytime, man, he replies, heading to the kitchen and starting the coffee machine. The smell of brewing coffee soon fills the small apartment, and for a moment, it almost feels like a normal morning. Almost. I stand up, stretching out the kinks in my back, and make my way to the kitchen. Jake hands me a mug of coffee, and I take it gratefully, wrapping my hands around the warmth. We stand there in silence for a few minutes, sipping our coffee, neither of us quite sure what to say. So, Jake finally says, breaking the silence. What's your plan? I stare into my coffee, the dark liquid swirling in the cup. I'm going to divorce her, I say quietly, the words feeling strange on my tongue. There's no way around it. She destroyed our marriage. Jake nods, not looking surprised. I figured you'd say that. You're sure, though? I mean, this is a big decision. Yeah, I'm sure, I say, my voice more certain this time. She betrayed me, Jake. There's no coming back from that. He nods again, his face thoughtful. What about, getting back at her? You mentioned last night you wanted to make her pay. I take a deep breath, the weight of my anger still sitting heavy in my chest. Yeah, I do. But I need to be smart about it. I don't want to do anything stupid and end up regretting it later. Jake's eyes narrow as he considers this. What do you have in mind? I pause, turning the idea over in my head before speaking. I want to find out more about this guy she's been seeing. Who he is, what his deal is. I want to know everything about him, and then I'll figure out the best way to use that information. Jake raises an eyebrow. You're thinking of hiring a private investigator? Maybe, I say slowly. But I was also thinking I could start by doing a little digging myself. I mean, how hard can it be to find out who he is? I've already seen his face. Jake looks skeptical. You've never been the detective type, man. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I nod, my resolve hardening. I have to. I need to understand what's been going on behind my back. And if I can find something that'll make Sarah regret ever crossing me, then that's what I'll do. He sighs, running a hand through his hair. All right. If you're set on this, I'll help. Just, don't let this consume you, okay? You deserve better than to let this ruin your life. I give him a small, grim smile. Don't worry. I'm not going to let her win. This is just the beginning. Later that day, I drive back to the house I used to call home. The thought of facing Sarah again makes my stomach churn, but I need to pick up some things, and more importantly, I need to start gathering information. I pull up to the driveway and sit there for a moment, taking a deep breath before stepping out of the car. The front door creaks open as I walk in, and the house is eerily quiet. It's like the place is holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. I half expect Sarah to come rushing out, pleading for forgiveness again, but the house remains still. I head straight to the bedroom, avoiding the living room where the confrontation took place, and start grabbing clothes and essentials. My suitcase fills quickly, but I'm not just here for my things. I need to find something, anything, that can give me more insight into this other man. Sarah's phone is nowhere to be seen, so I head to her office, a small room down the hall where she keeps her laptop and work files. I know it's a long shot, but maybe I'll find something there. I boot up her laptop, praying she hasn't changed the password. She hasn't, and I'm in within seconds. I start combing through her emails, her calendar, anything that might give me a clue. At first, there's nothing, just work emails, meetings, and a few online shopping receipts. But then I find it, hidden in a folder labeled Personal. A string of emails between Sarah and a man named Mark. My heart pounds as I click through them, reading the exchanges. They're mostly mundane, planning to meet up, talking about their day, but there's an intimacy to them that makes my skin crawl. And then I see an email from just a few days ago, the subject line reading, "Can't wait to see you tonight." I open it, my eyes scanning the words with growing anger. I've been thinking about you all day, Mark writes. I can't wait to hold you again. We'll have to be careful, but I'm sure we can find some time alone. I love you. I swallow hard, the bile rising in my throat. This is it. The proof I needed. But I'm not done yet. I quickly search for any attachments, and sure enough, there are a few photos. I hesitate for a moment before opening them, but I need to see it. I need to know just how far this has gone. The first photo is of them together in what looks like a hotel room, smiling for the camera like they don't have a care in the world. The second is worse, it's a selfie Sarah took, her face flushed and hair tousled, clearly taken after they'd been intimate. I slam the laptop shut, my hands shaking with anger. This is more than I bargained for, but it's exactly what I needed. I have enough to confront Sarah again, to use against her if I decide to go down that path. I pack the laptop in my bag, along with the rest of my things, and head back to the living room. Just as I'm about to leave, the front door opens, and Sarah steps inside. She freezes when she sees me, her eyes wide with surprise and fear. "What are you doing here?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm getting my things," I say curtly, not even bothering to hide the contempt in my voice. She looks at the suitcase in my hand and then back at me, her eyes filling with tears again. "Please, can we talk? I know I messed up, but I still love you. We can fix this, I know we can." I shake my head, my anger bubbling to the surface. "You don't get it, do you? There's nothing to fix. You broke us, Sarah. You made your choice, and now you have to live with the consequences." She takes a step closer, her hands reaching out for me, but I step back, out of her reach. "Please," she begs, her voice cracking. "I don't want to lose you." "You already have," I say coldly. "I found your emails, by the way. And the photos. I know everything." Her face crumples, and she sinks to her knees, sobbing into her hands. But I feel nothing, no pity, no sorrow, just a cold, empty void where my heart used to be. "Goodbye, Sarah," I say, turning my back on her and walking out the door. As I step outside, the weight of the past few days presses down on me, but there's also a strange sense of relief. This is the beginning of the end, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. As I drive away, the road ahead seems uncertain, filled with twists and turns I can't yet see. But one thing is clear, I'm not going to let Sarah, or anyone else, control my life any longer. I'm taking back what's mine, one step at a time. The days after my confrontation with Sarah pass in a haze. I move through life on autopilot, going through the motions at work, crashing at Jake's place every night, and avoiding all thoughts of what my next move should be. I can't shake the anger, the betrayal, the gnawing need for revenge, but a part of me wonders if I'm stuck in an endless cycle of pain with no way out. Jake's been patient, not pushing me to talk about what happened. But I know he's worried that I'm letting this consume me, that I'm becoming someone I don't even recognize anymore. Maybe he's right. It's Friday night when everything changes. I'm at a bar with Jake, nursing my second beer of the evening. The place is dimly lit, filled with the low hum of conversation and the occasional clink of glasses. It's the kind of place we used to hang out at in college, where the drinks are cheap and the faces are familiar. I'm halfway through my drink when Jake leans in, lowering his voice. "You know, if you're really serious about this revenge thing, I know a guy who could help." I look at him, skeptical. "What do you mean?" He hesitates, glancing around as if to make sure no one is listening. "There's this guy I know, he's good with computers, finding things out. He could dig deeper into Sarah's life, maybe even mess with her and this guy she's seeing." I frown, the idea of getting someone else involved feeling like crossing a line I'm not sure I want to cross. But the anger in my chest flares up again, and I find myself nodding. "Yeah, okay. Let's do it." Jake pulls out his phone and sends a quick text. He'll meet us here in an hour. An hour later, a man walks in. He's tall, with dark hair slicked back and sharp eyes that take in everything around him. He spots us at the bar and heads over, sliding into the seat next to me. "You're Jake's friend?" he asks, his voice low and smooth. I nod, extending my hand. "Yeah, I'm Dan." He shakes my hand, his grip firm. "Name's Mike. Jake tells me you've got a problem you need solved." "Something like that," I say, glancing at Jake. "I need to find out more about the guy my wife's been seeing. And maybe do something to mess with him." Mike leans back in his seat, studying me. "I can do that. But you need to be sure this is what you want. Once I start digging, there's no going back." I swallow hard, the reality of what I'm about to do sinking in. But the memory of Sarah's betrayal is still fresh in my mind, and I can't shake the need to make her pay. I'm sure, I say, my voice steady. Mike nods, pulling out a small notebook and pen. Give me the details, everything you know about the guy. I tell him what I know, his name, his connection to Sarah, the emails I found, and the photos. Mike listens, jotting down notes, his expression unreadable. All right, he says when I'm finished. I'll see what I can find. Give me a few days, and I'll get back to you. I nod, my heart pounding in my chest. This is it. I'm really going through with this. Mike leaves, and Jake and I sit in silence for a while, the weight of what we've set in motion hanging over us. Eventually, we leave the bar, and I head back to Jake's place, my mind racing with possibilities of what Mike might uncover. It's Sunday evening when Mike calls. His voice is calm, almost too calm, as he tells me to meet him at a small cafe on the other side of town. I can tell from his tone that he's found something, and my heart races with anticipation and dread in equal measure. I arrive at the cafe before Mike, taking a seat at a corner table where we can talk without being overheard. The place is nearly empty, the only other patrons an older couple sipping coffee by the window. Mike walks in a few minutes later, his face unreadable as he approaches the table. He sits down across from me, pulling out his notebook and flipping it open. I found something, he says, his voice low. My pulse quickens. What is it? He takes a deep breath, glancing down at his notes before meeting my eyes. The guy Sarah's been seeing, Mark. He's not who you think he is. I frown, confusion swirling in my mind. What do you mean? Mike leans in closer, lowering his voice even more. Mark doesn't exist. At least, not in the way you think. The emails, the photos, they're all fake. Fabricated. I blink, the words not making sense at first. What are you talking about? I saw the emails. The photos. They were planted, Mike interrupts. By Sarah. The world tilts on its axis, and I feel like the ground has been pulled out from under me. Why would she do that? Mike closes his notebook, his expression grim. I don't know. But it's clear that she's been playing you. This whole thing, it's a setup. My mind races, trying to piece together what Mike is saying. You're telling me she wanted me to find those emails? Those photos? Mike nods. Looks like it. I don't know what her endgame is, but she's been orchestrating this from the start. The realization hits me like a freight train. All this time, I've been the one thinking I was in control, that I was the one taking action, but it's been Sarah pulling the strings. She wanted me to react, to fall into her trap, and I did, perfectly. I lean back in my chair, my heart pounding in my chest as the truth settles in. So what now? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Mike's eyes soften, a rare show of sympathy. That's up to you. But whatever you decide, just know that you're not alone in this. I can help you if you need it. I nod, my mind still reeling from the revelation. Thanks, I manage to say, though the words feel hollow. Mike leaves shortly after, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I sit there for what feels like hours, trying to make sense of everything. Sarah, my wife, the woman I've loved and trusted, has been manipulating me, using my emotions against me. And for what? What could she possibly gain from this? The answer comes to me slowly, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. Sarah knew I would react the way I did. She knew I'd be driven by anger, by the need for revenge. And she counted on it, probably even planned for it. But why? As I sit there, turning the situation over in my mind, the truth becomes clear. Sarah wanted out of our marriage, but she didn't want to be the one to end it. She wanted me to be the bad guy, to be the one who walked away. And she succeeded. The realization is like a punch to the gut, but it's also oddly freeing. I've been played, yes, but now I know the truth. And with that truth comes clarity. I make my way back to the house, knowing what I have to do. When I walk through the door, Sarah is there, sitting on the couch, her face pale and drawn. She looks up as I enter, her eyes widening in surprise. "You're back," she says, her voice trembling slightly. "Yeah," I reply, my voice calm. "We need to talk." She stands up, her hands wringing nervously. "Dan, I know," I cut her off, my tone even. "I know what you've been doing." Her eyes flicker with something, fear, guilt, maybe relief, but she says nothing. "You wanted me to find those emails," I continue, stepping closer to her. "You wanted me to think you were cheating, to push me to leave you." She swallows hard, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she whispers. "I didn't know how else to make you see that we're not good for each other anymore." I shake my head, the anger I felt before now replaced with a cold, bitter resignation. "You could have just talked to me, Sarah. We could have ended things like adults. But instead, you decided to play games, to manipulate me." She doesn't respond, just stands there, her shoulders slumped in defeat. "This is over," I say, the finality of the words settling over us like a shroud. "I'm filing for divorce. And after that, I never want to see you again." Sarah nods, her face crumpling as the tears finally spill over. "I'm sorry," she says, her voice breaking. "I never wanted to hurt you." I don't respond, just turn and walk away, leaving her standing there in the middle of the living room. As I step outside, the cool night air hits me, and I feel a strange sense of relief. This chapter of my life is over, and though it ended in betrayal and bitterness, I'm ready to move on. I get into my car and drive away, not looking back. The road ahead is uncertain, but it's mine to navigate now. And as I leave Sarah and everything she represents behind, I know one thing for sure: I'll never let anyone have that kind of power over me again. The past is done, the lies revealed, and now, it's time to start anew. Alone, but finally free.